All right, old school NBA fans, self-research, NBA facts. Got another video. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. This is part 2 in my Hall of Fame series. The reason why I did this was because I felt in recent years they let players in that are just flat out not deserving. They let in a lot of international players that they're taking their international laurels and adding them with the NBA or whatever they're doing and putting all these international guys in. Now, I understand it's the Basketball Hall of Fame, but this is the NBA Hall of Fame only. What you did in the NBA, what it should be. I did the part 1, which covered the 1950s. I'm definitely not as knowledgeable about that decade, and I am going to maybe rely on some other people to help me with that one. This one, I got a little more knowledge. Now, I wasn't around for the 60s either, but I'm going to do the best I can with what I got. I've taken what I think are the top 25 players of the decade. Now, there might be a couple other guys or whatever, but just so we're clear, right off the top of my head, Frank Ramsey and K.C. Jones of the Boston Celtics, they're in the Hall of Fame. They should not be. They were bench players. K.C. Jones started, maybe a few years after Cousy left or whatever. But these guys are not Hall of Fame worthy. They got all these rings, blah, 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 blah. I mean, so did John Sally. So did Robert Horry getting these rings. You know what I mean? James Edwards was on one of the Bulls championship teams. Ridiculous. No, those guys contributed a little bit more, sure, but no, they're just putting in too many guys because they were on a winning team. That's stupid and ridiculous. It just is. To me, was K.C. Jones a better point guard than Mark Price? There's no universe that's true. Now, I understand K.C. Jones is a really good defensive player and all that, and we didn't get to see his accolades because they didn't do all defense until 69. Okay, maybe true. But he also only played like 8-9 seasons. That's it. No, he was not better than Mark Price. I'm sorry. This is a guy that, or for Frank Ramsey, he was a solid player, but he's right around 15 points a game coming off the bench. That's just not Hall of Fame numbers. But neither guy ever made an all-star team, let alone an all-NBA. They were just on a championship team because it had Cousy and Russell and Havlicek and Sam Jones and Bill Sharman. Those were the core guys for the whole, dynasty. Those are the guys. And anybody who was attached to that, you just benefited from the team you were on. So anyway, so the first player I got for now again, it's what player played the majority of their career in the 60s. You're not going to see Walt Frazier because he played the majority of his career in the 70s. So he'll be covered in the 70s. So 1960s, the top 25 players who I think who they are, and some of these guys are already in the Hall of Fame, but some of them shouldn't be, and maybe there's some guys that aren't that should be. I'm going to take a look at that. All right. Elgin Baylor. Elgin Baylor played for 12 seasons from 1959 to 1970. All right, he never won a championship. He was 10-time first-team All-NBA. He was basically the best forward of the 60s, wouldn't you say? I can't think of one better for the whole decade. 11-time All-Star, and he was 8 times. He was top 6 for MVP. His career numbers are 27.4 points, 13.5 rebounds. That's his career numbers. Outstanding. Now, I've said this before. Elgin Baylor is the best player in NBA history who never won an MVP, who never won a championship, and never led the league in any stat category. He's the best player in the NBA, bar none. No doubt about it. So, obviously, Elgin Baylor, he's a top 75 player. I have him in my top 25, so obviously Hall of Fame. Check mark. Now, Bill Russell, played 13 years, won 11 titles, 3 times first team All-NBA, 8 times second team, 12-time All-Star, 5 MVPs, 5 rebound per game leader, and the last year in 1969 when they came out with all defense, Bill Russell was first team. So obviously that's an easy Bill Russell, absolutely Hall of Fame. Wilt Chamberlain played 14 years, won 2 championships, 7 times first team All-NBA, 3 times second team, 13-time All-Star, won 4 MVPs, twice was all defense, that was in the 70s, 7 scoring titles and 11 rebound titles, and even has an assist title, but that was like total assists, not assists per game, but whatever. Obviously, Wilt Chamberlain, Hall of Fame, no ifs, ands, or buts. Oscar Robertson, he played for 14 years, only 1 championship though, 8 times first team All-NBA. Him and Jerry West had the guards locked down. 2 second teams, 12-time All-Star. He won 1 MVP, got a scoring title, 7 assist titles, and even 2 free throw titles. So obviously Oscar Robertson is a top, he's a Hall of Famer, no question. Jerry West, same thing, 61 to 74, 14 seasons, 1 championship, a 10-time first team All-NBA, 2 second teams, 14-time All-Star. He's got a Finals MVP, a scoring title, an assist title, and 5 times All-Defense. Obviously, the logo, Mr. Clutch, Jerry West, absolute deserving Hall of Famer. Hal Greer, he played for 15 years, 1959 to 73. He won 1 championship on the 67 76ers, 7-time All-NBA second team, 10-time All-Star. He had 8 years of 20-plus points per game. That's absolute Hall of Fame credentials. I mean, for me, anybody who's been an All-Star 8 times, that should be Hall of Fame right there. Because that's not an accident or whatever, but 8 times, that's a lot of time to be All-Star. At least back then, anyway. There was stiff competition. Sam Jones, he played from 1958 to 1969, 12 seasons, won 10 championships, 3 times second team All-NBA, 5-time All-Star. He had 7 years of 18-plus points per game. Now, I'm not as high on Sam Jones as some other people are. I look at Sam Jones as basically a poor man's Hal Greer, basically. I have him under Hal Greer, actually, if I were to do like a top 75 or top 100 ranking. Not saying Sam Jones was better either. He had like 3 or 4 really good years. By 1969, though, he was starting to fade. But, Russell was too, to a certain degree. But, look, if I went over it again, I don't think Sam Jones would be in my top 75. I don't know. I'd have to look. Was he better than Dwight Howard? Was he better than Alonzo Mourning, for example, or Artis Gilmore? I don't know about that. I'd have to take a close look at their careers and decide. Sam Jones is definitely a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about that. No question. Top 75, though, I think he probably is, but I would have to take a closer look at it because I'm not as sold as some other people are. I'm not saying he was a bum. The guy was obviously a very good player, important player to their success. I'm just not as high as I've heard other people, put him like in top 6 or 7 all-time shooting guards. I'm like, oh no, that's a bridge way too far for me. Maybe top 10. I don't even know if that's right. Okay. Like I said, Hal Greer was better. Richie Guerin. Richie Guerin from 1957, 1970. He did this 1 year in there. I think that was due to military. Never won a championship. A 3-time second-team All-NBA. A 6-time All-Star. 17.3 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists are his career numbers. He's in the Hall of Fame, and I'm on the fence about Richie Guerin. I think he's close, but he has the credentials of like an Amari Stoudemire or a Jermaine O'Neal, who are not in the Hall of Fame. And the fact that he never won a championship, of course, nobody other than the Celtics could win in the 60s. I'm saying Richie Guerin is not a Hall of Famer. And I know I'll probably get some pushback. I think he played a lot on the Knicks, and that had a lot to do with the fact that he's in the Hall of Fame. I do. Now, I think he was a very good player, no doubt, but a Hall of Famer, NBA Hall of Famer, he's a borderline, and to me, if you're borderline, you're out. You have to be a definitive, no doubt, Hall of Famer. If you question it, right there, if you're like, well, then he's not. Because if you have to question it, then the case just isn't strong enough. I mean, you'll read the name, read the accolades, and all the accomplishments and everything like that, and then you say yay or nay. Now, obviously, I have to go more off of, what I read, and I have watched as much as I could, games and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't get to watch most of these guys. You know, like I watch what, 1% of their careers, if that. I mean, I got to go by what's on paper, unfortunately, especially for the guys in the 60s. Come 80s and on, I got a lot better feel of who belongs in the Hall of Fame. So, you know, you're not going to hurt my feelings if any of these guys, you say, oh, I wouldn't put him in, or why wouldn't you have him in the Hall of Fame? Because, you know, I'm just going off of what I think someone deserves. All right. Next player is Jack Twyman. He played with Oscar Robertson. He played 11 seasons, 1956 to 1966, mostly on the Royals, from what I remember. 0 championships, 2-time All-NBA, a 6-time All-Star, 19.2 points, 6.6 rebounds. Twyman, to me, is, again, borderline. I'm going to go no. I say Jack Twyman should not be an NBA Hall of Famer. I think he's close, but I just don't think he's in. And I know they want to put in more players because there wasn't enough of them from that era, the 40s, 50s, 60s. They wanted to put in more players than probably deserved it because I think it was lacking. Because in the 80s and 90s and even all the way up till 2010s or whatever, a lot of these players, older players, were getting in 20, 30 years, 40 years after they retired. I'm like, wow, why? Okay, that's the only thing that makes sense. Bailey Howell, 1960 to 1971, 12 seasons. He won 2 championships as part of Boston, 1-time All-NBA, 6-time All-Star, 18.7 points and 9.9 rebounds. Now, Bailey Howell is, to me, my first instinct is a yes. He's got the 2 championships, and he was important in that 69 one. You had a prime John Havlicek, but you had a last season Bill Russell and Sam Jones. And the rest of those guys were pretty much all role players. Bailey Howell did play a very important role in winning, especially in 69. So to me, Bailey Howell should be in. I think he's Hall of Fame material. I do. He doesn't have a super strong case, but I think it's strong enough. Lenny Wilkens, 15 seasons, 1961 to 1975. Never won a championship. Never made All-NBA, but he's a 9-time All-Star. He has an assist title. He was runner-up to the MVP in 1968. So I think we've seen enough. Lenny Wilkens is definitely a Hall of Famer. He's a top 75 player. Dave DeBusschere played for 12 years, won 2 championships, 1 All-NBA, which I find hilarious, 8-time All-Star, 6 times All-Defense, and that only came out in 69. So what that means is his last 6 seasons from 69 to 74, he made All-Defense every year. So there's a good chance that Dave DeBusschere was going to make All-Defense maybe every year. And they were all first team, too. Definite Hall of Famers, Dave DeBusschere. The unsung hero of those Knicks championships. People talk about Willis Reed, and Walt Frazier. But what about DeBusschere? He was big time. He was. And on the second one, Jerry Lucas also played a pretty big role. All right. Gus Johnson. He played 10 seasons. He won 1 championship, but it was an ABA one, which, yeah, it's a little less than an NBA championship. Let's be honest. He was 4-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Star, 2-time first-team All-Defense. I mean, he's another interesting case. I have Gus Johnson in, but he is maybe a little better than a borderline case. He does have good overall numbers. And again, you know, if there was All-Defense back in the 60s, he would have been a very good two-way player. And two-way players mean a lot to me. Okay, Jerry Lucas. He played for 11 years, 1964 to 74. He got the 1 title with the Knicks, 3 times first-team All-NBA, 2 times second-team All-NBA, a 7-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year, career 17 points, 15.6 rebounds. Obviously, Jerry Lucas is a clear Hall of Famer. Tom Heinsohn. Now, Heinsohn's interesting. Played 9 years. He won 8 championships. Playing on Boston. 4-time All-NBA, second team. 6-time All-Star. He won Rookie of the Year with Bill Russell, also as the other rookie that year. Now, Russell only played 48 games, so they probably felt he just didn't play enough. 18.6 points, 8.8 rebounds. I would say Tommy Heinsohn is a Hall of Famer. Now, would players like Tom Heinsohn and Sam Jones be Hall of Famers if they didn't play on Boston? We'll never know the answer to that, but I wonder. I don't know. Maybe. Players like Bailey Howell, they were doing well before he played with Russell. Bob Cousy, Bill Sharman, these guys were forming Hall of Fame careers before they played with Russell. John Havlicek was outstanding in the 70s. But some of these other guys, I do question, no doubt. And chief among them is Casey Jones and Frank Ramsey. I just don't see it. If they were on the Baltimore Bullets and won no championships with those exact same stat lines, I don't see how any chance they're getting in the Hall of Fame. But anyway. All right, Chet Walker. He played 13 seasons from 63 to 75. Pretty good player, Walker. Good score. He won one championship, part of that 67 team. He never made All-NBA, but he had, Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, Hal Greer, Sam Jones ahead of him pretty much his whole career. Then later, like Walt Frazier. I mean, it was tough. He's a 7-time All-Star. His career, 18.2 points and 7.1 rebounds. I think because he played 13 years is helping me say yes. And those are pretty good numbers for Chet Walker. Chet Walker, the Hall of Famer for me. Walt Bellamy, he's in the Hall of Fame. Played 14 seasons from 62 to 75. No championships. No All-NBA. But you got to remember, he was behind Russell and Chamberlain for the whole way through. And then as soon as Russell retired, Kareem came in 70. So Bellamy was always behind Chamberlain and Russell and Kareem. So he really had no shot at All-NBA. He never won a championship. No All-NBAs because of that. A 4-time All-Star. He's a career 20.1 points, 13.7 rebounds, Rookie of the Year. I say Walt Bellamy is a Hall of Fame player. He should be acknowledged as such. All right. Cliff Hagan. Cliff Hagan also played 14 seasons from 57 to 70. He won one championship. I believe that was in the 58 St. Louis team. 2-time All-NBA player, 6-time All-Star. 5 times he was in the top 14 for NBA. For me, Cliff Hagan did enough. When I hear the name and see what he did, Hall of Famer. Tom Gola, he's in the Hall of Fame. He played 10 seasons. He missed 1 year of military service. 1 championship. That would have been his rookie year in 56. 1-time All-NBA. 5-time All-Star. 3 times he was in the top 11 for MVP. For me, Tom Gola is a good player, but he's just not good enough. I'm sorry, he is. But for me, he's just outside the Hall of Fame. Again, if you're borderline, then that means you're not in. Larry Costello, he played for 12 seasons. Yeah, he missed a couple in there, military. 1 championship. That would also have been that St. Louis team. 1 second-team All-NBA. 6-time All-Star. He has 2 free throw titles. I think, like Tom Gola, it's just not enough for me. He's got a pretty good career there, but it's just not enough for Hall of Fame. For me, he's just not. All right. Bob Pettit played 11 seasons, won 1 championship, 10-time first-team All-NBA. That's as many as anybody on this whole list. 1 second-team All-NBA, 11-time All-Star, with only these 4 players here, Russell, Chamberlain, Oscar, and Jerry West having more. 2 MVPs, Rookie of the Year, 2 scoring titles. Obviously, Bob Pettit, one of the best power forwards of all time. He's got to be up there with Karl Malone and Tim Duncan, maybe 3rd or 4th, Barkley, in that territory. And I hate that people just look at Tim Duncan as a power forward. He was a power forward about half his career. He was also a center for at least half his career. But anyway, Wayne Embry. Now, Wayne Embry reminds me of Walt Bellamy a little bit, but he played less seasons. He played 11 years. His 1 championship was backing up Russell. I believe that was in 69. He was never All-NBA, again, because it was very hard in the 60s to become All-NBA. 5-time All-Star. He's a career 12.5 points and 9.1 rebounds. It's not Hall of Fame. Nice player. But I think he's in the Hall of Fame as a contributor, not as a player. And he should not be. He's not a Hall of Famer. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. Very good player. He was a very good player. But he is not Hall of Fame worthy. That's for the most elite players. Don Ohl, 1961 to 1970. Played 10 years. No championships. Never All-NBA. 5-time All-Star. But like I said, because of who was in front of you, there was only 2 All-NBA teams back then. Not really an insult. 5-time All-Star. He had 6 years of 17 points and 15.9 points per game. He had 6 years of 17 points or more. His career is 15.9 points per game. All things considered, Don Ohl is not a Hall of Famer. It's just good player, but he is one of the 25 best who played the majority of their career in the 60s, but he's just not Hall of Fame for me. Willis Reed played for 10 seasons from 65 to 74, won 2 championships, first team All-NBA once, second team twice. He was a 7-time All-Star, and the fact that he got a first team All-NBA with Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem, I think Wilt was actually injured and for most of the season in 1970. I think that's right. It might have been 71. But I think it was 71. Reed won... 70. 71 Milwaukee won. 70. Willis Reed was first-team All-NBA and first-team All-Defense center. A 7-time All-Star. He won Rookie of the Year, an MVP, 2 Finals MVPs, and like I said, a first-team All-Defense in that 1970 season. Obviously, Willis Reed is a Hall of Famer. No doubt about it. Zelmo Beatty. Now, Zelmo Beatty is tough. He played 13 seasons from 1963 to 1975. He won 1 championship. It was an ABA one. He made All-NBA twice, second team, a 5-time All-Star. His career, 17.1 points and 10.9 rebounds, which is pretty solid. He had 2 top 3 for MVP in the ABA. He's tough. Because my initial instinct is to say, he's close. And, he was really good. But I just don't know if I would put Zelmo Beatty in. He just got in not that long ago either. He got in this century, even though he retired, 50 years ago now. I think, again, if I have even a shred of doubt, then it's a no. Zelmo Beatty is not in the Hall of Fame. He's close. He's got a lot of accolades. Good stuff going for him, but it's just not quite enough for me. And like I said, if I hesitate or question it at all, then it's a no. You have to be absolutely. All right, so out of the 25 best players of the 60s, how many would be in my NBA Hall of Fame? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 18, that means there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only 7 guys who didn't get in. That's pretty good. That's, 18. So the 1960s has 18 out of the 25 Hall of Famers, which is really good, actually. So the 1950s, the 40s and 50s, had 15 of their 25 got in the Hall of Fame. So the 60s, you would say, had better players, had, more deserving Hall of Famers. So anyway, that's all I got for this video. Please tune in tomorrow. I'm running this series. Be the 1970s tomorrow. We'll do whoever played the majority of their career in the 1970s, the 25 best players, and we go through them and see, who belongs in the Hall of Fame. So anyway, as usual, thanks for watching, and anything you want to leave in the comments. This stuff is so subjective. Look, I'm not the authority on this stuff at all. I'm not claiming to be. But what I'm saying is they're letting in too many undeserving people. And even guys that are maybe close should not be in the Hall of Fame. They're putting them in. I don't know what the reason is exactly. For whatever reason, the last 25 years, they decided that guys that are attached to championships means more than longevity. It means more than, total stats, total accolades, whatever. A guy who had a very nice career like an Amari Stoudemire or a Jermaine O'Neal, they're not getting in. But they're going to let in guys like, Tom Gola. No insult to Tom Gola. But, you look at him on paper and I don't see it. You're going to have issues with Blake Griffin. You're going to have issues with LaMarcus Aldridge. Do you put these guys in? What about Kyle Lowry? He's like a 6-time All-Star. DeMar DeRozan. Are these guys Hall of Famers? No, they shouldn't be. But you need to think about the only guy I would maybe put in, probably Amari Stoudemire. I think he probably deserves it. But the rest of these guys, no, they're probably not Hall of Famers. But they're going to put them all in. You watch. So anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thanks for watching. Please tune in tomorrow. If you liked it, hit the like button. And till next time.